Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News. It is Wednesday, July 2nd, quarter to 12 in the afternoon. We're going to talk about the big, beautiful bill slash big, beautiful budget slash let's see what's left of this thing, if it is entirely recognizable at the end. As you are aware at this point, thanks to JD Vance, the budget has pushed through the Senate and is playing around again in the House. And from there, hopefully, without many more chops away at it, we'll be able to have it signed into law. Now, what people have to understand about this, and this is just going to be straight through on this is not a whole lot of spin because there's not a whole lot of spin necessary. For decades, I think it's 1990 something, early 1990s, Congress wasn't really passing a budget. They were using what's called a continuing resolution omnibus package, all or nothing, cram of foreign aid, bureaucracy stuff, last minute favors, U.S. aid largesse, and things of that nature for every lobbying class you can imagine. So that process, it rewarded inertia. It's already going, right? It protected the programs no one wanted to question, and it guaranteed that every dollar sent to some useless DEI office or some other anti-American NGO, as we know from the Doge revelations overseas, would never be debated or defunded. And that is what everybody is clutching their pearls about. Trump blew that all up because it would not have continued to work with his view of a second term in presidency. The big, beautiful bill isn't just a budget, it is a blueprint and has been discussed by myself and many other people like that at the beginning, but was drowned out by the noise of irrational Democrats and most of the Mitch McConnell ass licking Republicans. Okay. The whole point of what Donald Trump was trying to do, and he could not do that with this stale old payoffs style budget, was reindustrialize the United States with nearly $1 trillion in shipbuilding, rare earth mining, and domestic energy production projects. He was also going to secure the border, hire 42,000 ICE and CBP officers, and give sanctuary cities the ass kicking that they deserve, since they are entirely illegal in concept and practice. I don't know how many more times we have to say it. Just because you like fantasy stuff doesn't mean fantasy world bleeds into the rest of reality. And then, of course, we have his whole point of draining the swamp, slashing the foreign aid, ending the pet projects, forcing agencies to defend their existence, and deliver tax relief to the middle class and the real job creators, which is small business. So you have a lot of issues going on there, okay? So it's not going to be an easy win. In the House, the Freedom Caucus members pushed for deeper Ukraine cuts. The Democrats voted no across the board. The real trench warfare happened in the in the Senate. He's no centrist, is who I'm thinking of. John Thune, arch criminal. Mitch McConnell's loyal foot soldier, ass wiper extraordinaire. Now you're going to hear mainstream outlets call Thune a stabilizing force when he is not. We would call him what is known as a gatekeeper for the donor class. We have done other articles on Thune and stand by whatever we have said. Thune refused to overrule the Senate parliamentarian, a move that would have taken a simple majority. Instead, he let her axe 15 critical provisions. All of them were populist and pro-reform. Go to southfloridaconservative.com. You can see the list and also why it was done. But see, his hands are clean because he said we're going to stick with the famous rule of law, the Robert's Rules of Propriety, and let this woman who was hired by the opposition party chop away at certain things. So here's a few of the things that got cut. The ban on Medicaid being used for gender reaffirming surgeries, that got cut. The return of Trump's Schedule F style hiring overhaul, which would have gotten rid of federal employees that were unnecessary, that is also gone. It does not mean what people think it means. He can still fire federal agency people, but now it'll just be the old style. I'm eliminating an entire department. Okay. Efforts to change federal unions for official time also gone. All right. Medicaid carve outs for undocumented migrants also gone. So the illegals continue to get the Medicaid carve outs. 15 key provisions are gone, not just because they weren't popular, not because they weren't necessary, and they were, but because Thune and his handlers didn't want to risk offending K Street or the donor class, basically. Okay. The sooner he is gone, and he's got a long time left, the sooner Thune is marginalized, the sooner McConnell is put on a rail and ridden out of town, the better off we have. Rand Paul, also a piece of shit, and it's finally been, these guys have been getting away with it for years, and now it's finally coming out in the open, and everybody's like, oh, I never knew he was like this. We've known for quite some time. Go back and see the other things we've done on almost everybody who betrayed the United States citizens during this process, okay? So, what survived? Luckily, despite the betrayals, the bill still delivers on core promises. Nearly $900 billion with a B in reindustrialization funding is locked in. Border enforcement is fully funded. Walls, agents, catapults, those freaking sharks with lasers on their head, it's all in there. US aid and soft power NGOs took a 40% haircut. Couldn't get everything you wanted there, as he said, because of Dr. Thune. The 2017 tax cuts are now permanent. The strategic vision, still alive. The fiscal discipline, compromised. It's true, right? But that's a battle for the next round. So some voices, you have Moody's and Standard & Poor's, the usual suspects, are crying about the deficit. You're going to hear deficit, deficit, deficit. These are the same clowns, as you recall. Did you ever see The Big Short? Who rated those toxic mortgage debts at AAA in 2008. That's what they were back then. For you guys that are saying Moody's really knows what's up. They're not worried about the numbers. They're worried about losing control. There is a lot of shenanigans in the financial sector. We just did a video about the Magnificent Seven and how that's kind of really a big joke. And it is kind of too big to fail, but not. And a bad actor will at some point bring it down. So the less you're invested in it, the better off you are. You make money now, maybe you don't make money later. Okay. They're not worried about those numbers. They're worried about losing control, as you said. This bill cuts out funding for their pet projects and they want revenge. It's obvious. Okay. But remember this, you can't protect federal employees in jobs that no longer exist. Trump didn't just want to reform the bureaucracy. He set the stage to dismantle it agency by agency. So the big, beautiful bill, perfect? No. Is it a total Trump victory? Not really. But it's the first real budget in a generation. Okay, people should be saying, what have we been doing for the last 15 years? How have we been innovating anything if we're using the same budget every year with just little tweaks, except for the fact that we were funding all these scam projects for all these politicians and NGOs. Okay, so this kills the autopilot. It makes the swamp fight for every dollar that it wants to steal, and it draws a new line in the sand. I hate to use that term, but it's the only term you can use. So what are you going to do? You know, we can demand execution, we demand follow through, and we remember who tried to gut this bill when it comes election time. Murkowski, Thune, Tillis. There's an entire list of Republicans and Democrats that were key in trying to wreck the bill at www.southfloridaconservative.com. You may want to know who they are next time you go into a vote. And that's about it for now. We'll see what goes on here in the next couple of days, as this all should be over by 4th of July. And otherwise, have a good day. Talk to you later on.